What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars becomes genuinely invested in a K-pop group, not for a brand deal, not for a quick press cycle, but out of real, documented admiration that spans half a decade? Ryan Reynolds is a man who co-owns a Welsh football club, built a gin empire, and turned Deadpool into one of the highest-grossing R-rated franchises in cinema history. So when someone like that keeps showing up for the same 8-member group from South Korea, trading gifts, crashing music videos, lighting up entire buildings together, it's worth asking a simple question: how deep does this connection actually go? Because in 2025 alone, the proof stacked up in ways no one expected. From red carpet moments at international film festivals to charity stages in New York City, from soundtrack collaborations to personal shout-outs at comedy festivals in Montreal, the Reynolds Stray Kids pipeline didn't just survive past its promotional window, it evolved. So, here are 7 verified, documented moments that prove Ryan Reynolds' influence on Stray Kids isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Number 7. When a comedy festival turned into a K-pop confession. In July 2025, Ryan Reynolds traveled to Montreal for the Just for Laughs Comedy Pro Festival, one of the largest and most respected comedy events on the planet. He was there for a very specific reason: to present the Generation Award to his longtime friend and business partner, Rob McElhenney, the co-creator and star of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and the man Reynolds co-owns Welsh football club Wrexham AFC with. The ceremony took place at M. Tellis. Reynolds was in town from July 23rd to 25th, and the entire event was built around comedy, stand-up, improv, industry panels, and the celebration of comedic talent. On paper, this had nothing to do with K-pop, nothing to do with South Korea, nothing to do with an 8-member group under JYP Entertainment that makes music blending hip-hop, EDM, and punk-influenced vocals. And yet, when Reynolds sat down for press interactions during the festival, he went out of his way, completely unprompted, with no promotional obligation, to talk about Stray Kids. He discussed his love for the group, his appreciation for Korean pop culture, and how deeply embedded that admiration has become in his personal life. And this is important to understand because this is Ryan Reynolds we're talking about. This is not a man who speaks loosely. He is one of the sharpest marketers alive. He took Aviation American Gin from a small craft brand and built it into a household name, culminating in Diageo acquiring it in 2020 in a deal worth up to $610 million. He bought a 25% stake in Mint Mobile in 2019, created a string of viral, low-budget ad campaigns for it, and rode that momentum until T-Mobile acquired the company in 2024 for $1.35 billion. His creative agency, Maximum Effort, is literally built on the principle of turning every public moment into strategic brand communication. And that's the point. Reynolds doesn't just say things, he calculates, he curates. Every interview, every social media post, every off-the-cuff remark has purpose behind it. So when Ryan Reynolds walks into a comedy festival in his hometown of Vancouver's neighboring Canadian city, surrounded by comedians and industry professionals, and he pivots the conversation to a K-pop group based in Seoul, that tells you something real about where his head is. This wasn't a junket for a Marvel film. This wasn't a press cycle where he was contractually tied to mentioning collaborators. This was a comedy event where the only obligation he had was to say nice things about Rob McElhenney and hand over a trophy, and he still chose to bring up Stray Kids. Now, to understand why this carries so much weight, you have to trace the line back to where it started. On May 20, 2021, Stray Kids performed on episode 8 of Mnet's Kingdom Legendary War, a survival show that pitted 6 of K-pop's top boy groups against each other. Their stage was a mashup, their own track, God's Menu, fused with Blackpink's Doo 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 Doo, and the entire concept was themed around Deadpool. Felix, the group's Australian-born rapper and vocalist, opened the performance by recreating an iconic scene from the Deadpool films. The choreography, the staging, the costumes, it was all a direct tribute, and it was a triumph. Stray Kids won that round, finishing first in expert votes, global voting, and YouTube views. The performance went viral, and someone noticed. On May 23, 2021, Ryan Reynolds himself responded on Twitter. His words were precise and characteristically witty. Two things. First, I have your autograph right here, Bangchan. We'll send to you this week. Second, as a new Stray Kids fan, can I get an autograph? And then he added a hashtag that carried more meaning than it seemed. New Favorite Australian. That hashtag was a direct, playful jab at Hugh Jackman, Reynolds' longtime friend/rival, who was also Australian. It was Reynolds publicly declaring that Bang Chan, a 20-something K-pop leader from Sydney, had just displaced Wolverine in his list of favorite Australians. Bang Chan, who had publicly spoken about Reynolds being his role model, replied. He confirmed he was sending an autograph and jokingly apologized to Hugh Jackman for taking his spot. That exchange went everywhere. It became one of the most talked about cross-cultural celebrity interactions of 2021, and it laid the groundwork for everything that followed. Because this wasn't a studio-engineered collaboration, nobody at Disney or JYP arranged for Ryan Reynolds to tweet about a Kingdom stage. He found it, he liked it, he reached out, and then he kept showing up. In August 2021, Bang Chan virtually interviewed Reynolds to promote the film Free Guy, and the two spoke openly about mutual admiration, Reynolds praising the group's authenticity, their energy, and their creative approach to performance. That same year, Reynolds sent Bang Chan a signed bottle of Aviation American Gin, personally inscribed with, "For Bang Chan, maximum effort," his own company's tagline, given as a personal gift. Along with it came a package of aviation-branded merchandise, a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, a cap, patches, name tags, a pop socket, and even branded Band-Aids. Bang Chan and the group sent their own gifts in return, with Reynolds later joking on social media, "You sent the entire band, right?" That exchange established something beyond typical celebrity interactions. It was personal, it had texture, and it kept evolving quietly in the background for years, building toward the massive collaboration that would explode in 2024 around Deadpool and Wolverine. But all of that, every collaboration, every cameo, every shared stage, traces back to the fundamental reality that Ryan Reynolds chose to engage with Stray Kids when he didn't have to. And the Just for Laughs moment in July 2025 proves that same principle is still operating. 4 years after the first tweet, with no movie to promote, no soundtrack to sell, no contractual reason to mention their name, he's still talking about them at a comedy festival in Canada, surrounded by stand-up comedians. He's telling press about how much Korean pop culture means to him, how deep his appreciation goes, how sticky the influence has been. Reynolds is a man who appeared on Korea's King of Masked Singer in 2018, disguised in a unicorn costume, singing Tomorrow from the musical Annie, becoming the first Western celebrity to ever appear on the program. He went on Running Man in 2019 with his Six Underground co-stars. His engagement with Korean entertainment isn't performative, it's historical. It predates Stray Kids. But what Stray Kids did was give it a personal anchor, a group he could connect with, champion, and return to. And when a man whose entire public persona is built on calculated communication keeps returning to the same subject without being asked, that's not a marketing strategy, that's influence. And the Just for Laughs moment is the quietest proof of it, but it might be the most honest one, because it happened when nobody was watching for it. Number 6. A photo card on the red carpet of the world's biggest film festival. On September 4, 2025, Ryan Reynolds walked the red carpet at Roy Thomson Hall in Toronto for the opening night gala of the 50th anniversary edition of the Toronto International Film Festival. TIFF is not a small event. It is one of the most prestigious film festivals on the planet, consistently regarded alongside Cannes, Venice, and Berlin as a launchpad for Oscar contenders and a stage where the global film industry gathers under one roof. The 2025 edition ran from September 4th to September 14th, and its milestone 50th year made it an even larger spectacle than usual, with increased media coverage, expanded programming, and an intensified global spotlight. Reynolds was there in an official capacity as a producer of the opening night documentary, John Candy, I Like Me, directed by Colin Hanks and built around the life and career of the legendary Canadian comedian who died in 1994 at the age of 43. The film featured never-before-seen home videos from Candy's private archives and interviews with people like Steve Martin, Tom Hanks, Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, and Bill Murray. It was a deeply personal project for Reynolds, who grew up in Vancouver idolizing Candy as one of the great comedic voices of a generation. This was a serious night, a formal premiere, an opening gala for one of cinema's most important annual events. Reynolds wore a custom chestnut-brown corduroy suit with a heather gray t-shirt featuring a maple leaf, a look that became a story in itself when it was revealed that the suit was put together last minute by Canadian textile artist Judy Carter after Reynolds' original outfit failed to arrive in time. Every camera was on him. Every photographer was calling his name. Every frame of that red carpet was going to be published by entertainment outlets worldwide. And yet, in the middle of all of that, while walking one of the most photographed red carpets on Earth, Ryan Reynolds stopped, accepted a small object from a fan in the crowd, and posed for the cameras holding it up. It was a photo card of Bang Chan. For anyone outside of K-pop fandom, that sentence might not land immediately, but if you understand what photocards represent in the K-pop ecosystem, you understand exactly what just happened. Photocards are small, credit card-sized photos of K-pop idols, typically included as randomized inserts in physical albums and merchandise. The tradition dates back to around 2010, when Girls' Generation's album O popularized the format, and it has since become one of the defining elements of K-pop fan culture worldwide. Fans collect them, trade them, store them in protective sleeves and hard plastic cases called top loaders, and carry them as a symbolic, portable connection to their favorite artists. Within the Stay fandom, the official name for Stray Kids fans, Bang Chan photocards are among the most sought after. He is the group's leader, its primary English-speaking bridge to Western audiences, and the member whose friendship with Reynolds has been the most publicly documented. So when a fan in the TIFF crowd handed Reynolds a Bang Chan photocard, they were handing him a piece of K-pop currency. And Reynolds didn't pocket it. He didn't politely set it aside. He held it up and posed with it, on the red carpet, at TIFF, during the opening night gala, while representing a documentary about John Candy. Let that sit for a second. Consider the context. This is a man whose entire public image is built on precision. His creative agency, Maximum Effort, exists to turn moments into content. He built Aviation Gin into a $600 million exit through strategic brand positioning. He built Mint Mobile into a $1.35 billion acquisition through calculated marketing. He and Rob McElhenney bought Wrexham AFC for $2.5 million and transformed it into a global sports media property through the docuseries Welcome to Wrexham. Reynolds does not do things by accident. So when he holds up a Bang Chan photocard on one of the most watched red carpets of the year, he is making a deliberate choice to signal his connection to Stray Kids in an environment where it would have been far easier and far more expected to stay entirely on message about John Candy and Canadian comedy. Now, the reaction to this moment was not uniformly positive. The Stay fandom, as it often does with any intersection of their artists and external public figures, had a split response. A significant portion of fans celebrated the gesture, viewing it as genuine continuation of the friendship that had been building since 2021, the same friendship that started with a Kingdom Legendary War stage, grew through Twitter exchanges and Aviation Gen gift packages, and culminated in official collaborations for the Deadpool and Wolverine press cycle in 2024. To those fans, the TIFF photocard moment was proof that the relationship was still alive and still personal, even months after the promotional obligations had ended. But another segment of the fandom pushed back, expressing discomfort with the association due to unrelated public controversies involving Reynolds and his wife Blake Lively that were circulating at the time. Some fans argued that the connection should be allowed to fade, that Stray Kids didn't need the association, that the risks of public linkage with a figure under scrutiny outweighed the benefits. This is the reality of modern celebrity intersection. Every connection is subject to the fandom's collective judgment, and no gesture exists in a vacuum. But what's notable about the TIFF moment, regardless of the mixed reception, is what it reveals about Reynolds' behavior. He was not at a K-pop event. He was not promoting anything related to Stray Kids. He was at a film festival premiere for a documentary about a comedian who died 3 decades ago. The photocard came to him from the crowd, and he could have done anything with it. Smiled, nodded, moved on. Instead, he stopped, held it up, and let the cameras capture it. That's a man who is not distancing himself from the connection. That's a man who sees a K-pop photocard of Bang Chan as something worth pausing his red carpet walk for. Even at the 50th anniversary of TIFF, even on opening night, even with the entire film industry watching. And that small, quiet act of public acknowledgement carries a specific kind of weight because it happened in a space that had nothing to do with Stray Kids, and yet Stray Kids still found their way into the frame. If the Just for Laughs moment was Reynolds talking about the group when nobody asked, the TIFF moment was Reynolds showing the group when nobody expected it. But the story of how their worlds actually collided professionally, the music, the cameras, the shared screen time, that starts with the next point on this list. Number 5. A K-pop track on the biggest R-rated soundtrack in history. On July 23, 2024, Stray Kids released an original track called Slash, an EDM trap-infused single written, composed, and arranged by the group's in-house production unit, 3 Racha, consisting of Bang Chan, Changbin, and Han, alongside producer Versace Choi. The song was not a B-side. It was not a promotional Lucy thrown together for fan service. It was track 4 on the official Deadpool and Wolverine original motion picture soundtrack, released by Hollywood Records. And that placement matters because of where it sat and what surrounded it. Look at the track list. Track 1, The Platters' Only You and You Alone, a 1955 classic that has lived in American pop culture for nearly 7 decades. Track 2, NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, a song from the year 2000 that the film single-handedly resurrected. After being featured in Ryan Reynolds' choreographed opening credit sequence, it re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 45, saw an 800% spike in sales, surged into the top 20 on Spotify's Global Top 50, and returned to the UK Top 40 for the first time in 24 years. Track 3, Merrily Rush's Angel of the Morning, and then Track 4, Stray Kids, a South Korean boy group slotted right between classic Americana and Fergie's Glamorous. Sharing a soundtrack with Huey Lewis and the News, the Goo Goo Dolls, Avril Lavigne, Green Day, Aretha Franklin, Patsy Cline, and a full cast recording from The Greatest Showman featuring Hugh Jackman himself. That is not a casual placement. That is a deliberate curatorial decision, and it happened because Ryan Reynolds wanted it to happen. This is his franchise.
he is not just the lead actor, he is the creative engine behind the Deadpool brand. He co-wrote the first Deadpool film, executive produced every installment, and runs its marketing through his own agency, Maximum Effort. When something makes it onto a Deadpool soundtrack, it is because Reynolds signed off on it. And he didn't just sign off on Slash. The entire collaboration was born from the personal relationship that started with a Kingdom Legendary War stage in May 2021 and evolved through years of social media exchanges, a virtual interview for Free Guy, aviation gin gift packages, and an ever-deepening mutual admiration between Reynolds and the group. Without that relationship, there is no track on this soundtrack. Full stop. Now, to understand the scale of what Stray Kids were placed inside, you have to understand the film itself. Deadpool and Wolverine was released on July 26, 2024, and it went on to gross $1.338 billion at the worldwide box office. That made it the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time, surpassing the previous record holder, Todd Phillips's Joker from 2019. It was also the 8th highest-grossing film of 2024 globally, and the only R-rated film in MCU history. Every piece of media attached to that film, every trailer, every promotional clip, every track on the soundtrack rode the wave of that commercial juggernaut. And Slash was one of those tracks. It was embedded in the cultural machinery of a billion-dollar film, credited alongside some of the most iconic songs in Western pop history. For Stray Kids, this was not just a career milestone, it was a structural shift in positioning. K-pop groups contributing to Hollywood soundtracks is not entirely unprecedented. TVXQ's Rising Sun appeared in Fast and Furious in 2009, Blackpink's As If You're Last was used in Justice League in 2017, and BTS members have contributed to projects like the Fast X soundtrack. But the distinction with Slash was that it was not an existing song licensed for background use. It was an original composition created specifically for the film, produced internally by the group's own members, and placed on the official soundtrack album as a featured track. That is a fundamentally different level of involvement, and it was made possible because of Reynolds' influence. He did not just open a door, he built the hallway. The fact that 3RACHA produced the track themselves is critical to understanding why this matters for Stray Kids specifically. This is not a group that farms out its creative output to external hitmakers. Bangchan, Changbin, and Han have been writing and producing together since 2016, when they were still trainees at JYP Entertainment. Before Stray Kids even debuted in March 2018, the trio had already uploaded original music to SoundCloud and YouTube, releasing mixtapes like J/2017/mixtape, 3 Days, and Horizon. All three are full members of the Korea Music Copyright Association, reflecting extensive catalogs of registered songs. In 2023, they received the Best Creator Award at the Asia Artists Awards. They have written and produced music not just for Stray Kids, but for artists like Nizyu, JO1, and Sholo, and contributed to soundtracks for projects like Tower of God. So when Slash landed on the Deadpool and Wolverine soundtrack, it was not a ghost-written track shaped by Hollywood producers to fit a Western mold. It was a 3RACHA production, their sound, their arrangement, their creative fingerprint, sitting on the official album of the highest-grossing R-rated film in cinema history. That is the kind of placement that changes how an industry perceives a group. It stops being about K-pop crossing over and starts being about K-pop belonging there. And as of mid-2026, Slash continues continues to accumulate tens of millions of streams on platforms like Spotify, sitting permanently in Stray Kids' catalog as a documented artifact of what happens when a Hollywood A-lister doesn't just appreciate a group's music, he gives it a platform inside a billion-dollar franchise. But Slash was only one half of the equation, because while Stray Kids were putting their music inside Reynolds' film, Reynolds was putting himself inside Stray Kids' music video, and that is a story that goes even further.
Number 4. The Disgruntled Diva Newsroom Cameo. On July 19, 2024, the global music landscape witnessed a visual collaboration that bypassed the traditional gates of Hollywood corporate approval. The release of the music video for CHK Boom, the lead single from Stray Kids' 9th mini-album titled ATE, was designed to be a high-energy representation of the group's signature hip-hop and Latin-influenced sound. But the visual narrative of the video went far beyond standard choreography and studio sets. It structured a fictional television broadcast network, CCB News, which was repeatedly hijacked by the group's performances across various urban environments. Sliding into this broadcast setup were two of the most recognizable faces in modern cinema, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Jackman appeared as a local weatherman, dressed in the iconic yellow and blue Wolverine suit, holding a pointer and gesturing toward a weather map with an expression of professional boredom. Reynolds occupied the anchor desk, portraying a disgruntled, narcissistic newsreader who complained about his script, checked his hair in the monitor, and reported on the chaotic street dances of the group as if they were a threat to public order. The video concluded with a comedic post-credits scene where Reynolds, now in full Deadpool gear, sat with the members of Stray Kids on a set and attempted to audition as a 9th member, only to be promptly rejected by the group. The cameo was a massive viral success, driving the music video past 200 million views on YouTube by March 2026 and securing its position as the 8th video in the group's history to cross that milestone. But the real significance of this cameo lies in how it was produced. During a promotional interview held in Seoul for Marvel Korea, hosted by Stray Kids members Bang Chan and Felix, Reynolds confirmed a detail that surprised industry analysts. Marvel Studios had absolutely no idea the cameo was happening. Reynolds and Jackman filmed their parts without notifying the studio or seeking the customary corporate clearances that govern multi-billion-dollar intellectual properties like Deadpool and Wolverine. Reynolds explained that keeping Marvel in the dark was a deliberate choice, describing it as part of the fun of the collaboration. This detail is crucial because it highlights the level of personal autonomy Reynolds holds over his creative projects and how he uses that autonomy to support Stray Kids. In the highly regulated world of entertainment conglomerates, major actors do not typically appear in full superhero costumes in third-party music videos without massive legal agreements, licensing fees, and studio oversight. Reynolds bypassed all of this because of his genuine relationship with the group, treating the cameo as a personal favor and a creative exchange rather than a corporate obligation. This choice illustrates the direct influence Reynolds has exerted on Stray Kids' career trajectory. By inserting himself and Jackman into the CHK Boom video, he elevated a standard K-pop comeback into a global pop culture event that commanded the attention of Western media outlets that normally ignore the genre. The cameo did not feel like a forced corporate crossover because it was built on the foundation of a real friendship that began online in 2021 and developed through mutual respect. It allowed Stray Kids to showcase their performance skills to a massive new audience while maintaining their creative identity, proving that their connection to Hollywood's elite was not just a marketing trick but a verified partnership. This visual crossover set a new standard for how international artists can collaborate across industries, showing that when the creative control is left in the hands of the artists themselves, the result is far more authentic and impactful than any studio-planned campaign. The visual impact of seeing Wolverine report the weather and Deadpool try to join a K-pop group created a lasting image that defined the promotional cycle of both the album ATE and the film Deadpool and Wolverine. It showed that Reynolds was willing to put his own brand on the line to elevate the group, using his market power to clear a path for them in the Western mainstream. This level of support is rare in the entertainment industry, where celebrity interactions are usually carefully monitored by publicists and legal teams to maximize profit and minimize risk. Reynolds chose a different path, relying on trust and creative freedom to build a bridge between Hollywood and Seoul. The success of the CHK Boom video verified that this approach was not only viable but highly effective, generating millions of views and establishing a permanent link between the group's discography and the history of one of cinema's biggest franchises. It proved that the relationship had progressed from social media banter to a physical, working collaboration where both parties were willing to ignore corporate rules to make something unique. And this visual collaboration was only possible because of the personal meetings and logistical coordination that took place behind the scenes during the promotional tour. The physical meeting between the actors and the group members in Seoul served as the anchor for the entire project, providing the space where these creative ideas could turn into reality. Number 3. The in-person Seoul Summit. In July 2024, the global promotional tour for the movie Deadpool and Wolverine made a highly anticipated stop in Seoul, South Korea. Global press tours of this scale are notoriously rigid, calculated operations. Every single minute of the actors' schedules is micromanaged by studio executives, publicists, and security detail to maximize media output and ensure the talent remains on message. Standard junket interviews are typically limited to 5-minute blocks where journalists ask repetitive questions in generic hotel rooms. But the Seoul leg of this tour deviated from the script in a way that highlighted the unique standing of Stray Kids in Ryan Reynolds' creative circle. Instead of sticking exclusively to traditional press outlets, Reynolds and Hugh Jackman dedicated a significant portion of their limited time to a face-to-face meeting with Stray Kids members Bang Chan and Felix. This was not a passing greeting in a hallway or a staged photo opportunity designed by a marketing team. It was a structured, in-depth collaboration where the two group members served as hosts and interviewers for official promotional content produced by Marvel Korea. The setting was highly formal, yet the interaction between the four men was characterized by a genuine rapport that immediately set it apart from standard corporate promotions. During the meeting, Reynolds and Jackman were presented with custom-designed traditional Korean hanboks. These garments were not off-the-rack items. They were crafted specifically for the Hollywood stars by the same designer who created the iconic stage costumes for Blackpink's historic Coachella performance. Upon receiving the garments, Reynolds expressed his deep appreciation for the cultural gesture and took the opportunity to explicitly state his admiration for Stray Kids, noting that his fandom was not a recent development but a continuous interest that began back in 2021. The conversation during the interview covered a range of topics, from the challenges of physical preparation for superhero roles to the creative processes behind Stray Kids' music. What made the exchange notable was the absence of the typical awkwardness that often accompanies cross-cultural celebrity meetings. Bang Chan and Felix, both native English speakers from Australia, were able to communicate directly and effortlessly with Reynolds and Jackman, bridging the gap between Hollywood and the K-pop industry. This direct line of communication allowed for a level of banter and mutual understanding that would have been lost through translators. The meeting served as the physical anchor for all the collaborative projects that emerged during the Deadpool and Wolverine promotional cycle, providing the concrete space where their digital friendship transformed into a real-world partnership. The emotional weight of this moment was not lost on the fans or the industry. Stray Kids had entered the music scene in 2018 as a self-producing group that had to fight for recognition in a highly competitive market where creative control is rarely granted to young artists. To see the group's leader and lead dancer sitting across from two of the most powerful figures in global entertainment, not as subservient promoters but as respected creative peers, was a clear validation of their artistic journey. It demonstrated that their work had resonated far beyond the boundaries of the K-pop industry, reaching the highest levels of Western pop culture. The Seoul Summit proved that the connection between Reynolds and the group was not a fleeting trend or a superficial brand alignment. It was a verified relationship built on years of mutual support, gift exchanges, and shared creative interests. By prioritizing this interaction during a grueling international press tour, Reynolds showed that he viewed Stray Kids as essential partners in his promotional strategy, using his personal influence to bring them into the Marvel spotlight. This meeting solidified the trust and mutual respect that made the CHK Boom music video cameo and the Slash soundtrack contribution possible, showing that the crossover was driven by the artist's own initiative rather than corporate mandates. It was a rare example of a Hollywood marketing campaign adapting to accommodate the personal relationships of its star, rather than forcing those relationships to fit a predetermined corporate mold. The images of Reynolds and Jackman wearing traditional Korean garments alongside Bang Chan and Felix became some of the most shared content of the entire press tour, generating millions of impressions and cementing the group's association with the film. The summit proved that the Reynolds-Stray Kids connection had transitioned from an interesting online curiosity into a major cultural bridge, showing how a shared appreciation for performance and creativity could bring two very different worlds together. It was a moment of clear professional alignment that set the stage for even more ambitious plans that almost changed the shape of the movie itself. Number 2. The film cameo that strikes derailed. In the highly competitive world of the global entertainment industry, securing a cameo appearance in a Marvel Cinematic Universe film is one of the most coveted achievements an artist can secure. For a K-pop group, such an appearance would represent an unprecedented level of mainstream Western exposure, placing their faces directly in front of millions of moviegoers who might otherwise never encounter their music. When Ryan Reynolds was developing the script and production plan for Deadpool and Wolverine, he did not just contemplate a brief visual reference to Stray Kids, he actively planned to have the entire 8-member lineup appear physically in the film. This plan went beyond casual speculation and entered the actual production discussions, where the logistical realities of coordinating such an appearance were evaluated by the film's crew. During a global press conference for the movie, Reynolds publicly revealed the details of this attempted crossover, sharing a story that highlighted the scale of the ambition. He recalled the comical reaction of the film's line producer when the idea was first proposed, stating that he would never forget the look on the producer's face when he explained that the group consisted of 8 members. In major film production, integrating an 8-person music group into a tightly scheduled shoot is a massive operational task. It requires coordinating travel, arranging schedules, designing costumes, and managing the budget for a large ensemble, all while working within the strict guidelines of studio production. Despite the willingness of both Reynolds and the group to make the cameo happen, the project was ultimately derailed by a series of external events that made coordination impossible. The primary obstacle was the 2023 Hollywood writers and actors strikes, which shut down film productions across the industry for several months. The strikes disrupted the film's shooting schedule, forcing the production to halt and then resume under a highly compressed timeline once the labor disputes were resolved. This scheduling disruption coincided with Stray Kids' own intensive international commitments, which included world tours, album preparation, and promotional campaigns. The combination of these factors created a situation where the window of opportunity for the shoot could not be aligned, leading Reynolds to conclude that the cameo was logistically impossible to execute. While the physical appearance in the film did not materialize, the fact that it was actively planned and discussed at the highest levels of production is a significant indicator of Reynolds' influence and his commitment to the group. He was willing to navigate the complex logistics of a Disney-backed Marvel production to give the group a platform in what would become the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time, earning over $1.338 billion globally. This level of support goes far beyond typical celebrity endorsements, demonstrating a desire to integrate Stray Kids into his most prominent creative work. The aborted cameo stands as a testament to the seriousness of their relationship, showing that Reynolds viewed the group not merely as a marketing tool but as creative partners worthy of sharing the screen in a major Hollywood blockbuster. The disappointment of the missed cameo was mitigated by other successful collaborations, such as the inclusion of their song on the soundtrack and the actor's appearance in the group's music video. But the movie cameo remains the ultimate what-if of their partnership. It showed that the only things capable of stopping a full physical crossover between Deadpool and Stray Kids were historic industry-wide strikes and the sheer logistical complexity of managing a group of 8 active musicians. This near miss highlighted the scale of what their collaboration had become, serving as a prelude to a massive public event in New York City where the connection was displayed on a grand physical scale. Number 1. A monumental beacon of collaborative charity. On June 16, 2025, one of the most famous landmarks on the global skyline, the Empire State Building in New York City, was illuminated in a rich burgundy color. This was not a routine aesthetic change or a commercial promotion for a local event. The world-famous tower lights were turned burgundy to officially honor Stray Kids and celebrate their partnership with the non-profit organization Musicians on Call. The organization is dedicated to delivering live and recorded music to the bedsides of patients, families, and healthcare providers in hospitals and medical facilities across the United States. The members of Stray Kids physically visited the historic Manhattan skyscraper to participate in the lighting ceremony, where they participated in the symbolic action of flipping the switch to activate the lights. During their visit, the group toured the building's historical museum and ascended to the famous observatories on the 86th and 102nd floors, capturing media that was shared across global news networks. This high-profile event occurred just days before the group performed 2 sold-out stadium concerts at Citi Field in New York City on June 18 and 19, 2025, which served as a major highlight of their Dominate World Tour. The lighting ceremony at the Empire State Building stood as the ultimate physical manifestation of how far the group's influence had traveled since their early days. When Stray Kids debuted in March 2018 under JYP Entertainment, they were characterized by their self-producing status, led by the creative direction of their internal production unit 3 Racha. They had to carve out a unique musical space in an industry that often relies on external writers and structured corporate styling. To see their group's presence celebrated at the top of the New York skyline, in connection with a major American philanthropic organization, was a visual proof of their mainstream integration in the United States. And this landmark achievement was deeply tied to the advocacy and influence of Ryan Reynolds. Since first noticing the group during their Deadpool-themed performance on the reality show Kingdom, Legendary War in May 2021, Reynolds had consistently used his considerable marketing power, creative agency Maximum Effort, and personal platforms to champion their work. He did not treat them as a temporary promotional asset. Instead, he worked to integrate them into the fabric of his own creative projects, culminating in the Deadpool and Wolverine soundtrack contribution and their music video cameos in 2024. By consistently presenting the group to Western media as creative peers and personal friends, Reynolds helped build a bridge that allowed Stray Kids to transition from a niche international act to a group capable of commanding the attention of major American cultural institutions. The Empire State Building event in June 2025 proved that this relationship had progressed beyond film promotions and digital exchanges, establishing a physical monument to their collaborative success in the heart of New York City. It demonstrated that the group's connection to Reynolds was not just a series of clever social media posts but a verified partnership that had a real-world, positive impact on charitable causes. The images of the burgundy-lit tower standing over Manhattan served as a powerful symbol of their journey, showing that a connection that began with a simple tweet about a superhero costume had evolved into a beacon of global influence and philanthropy. It was the ultimate verification that the partnership between the Hollywood star and the K-pop group had succeeded in breaking down the traditional barriers of the entertainment industry, creating a lasting legacy that reshaped the cultural relationship between Hollywood and Seoul.